came about, please.
For the past 3-4 years, we've been commissioned to do a series of half-an-hour documentary about the East End by East End Homes. Basically, the first film we went, first 3 films, which we've got now, East End Lives 1, 2 and 3. We interviewed residents who's been living in the East End Homes estate, and basically their kind of personal stories. And then after we finished those 3, we just thought, now that we've got the trilogy, let's do something else, something more in sort of feature-length kind of version. So we started on this one.
And I think, like a lot of artists who live and work in the East End, you're constantly inspired by the environment that you live in. It's a constant inspiration for me as a photographer and as a filmmaker. So we sometimes have a conversation, Hazuan and myself, will we ever run out of ideas about the East End? But as a lot of people who are here can testify, you can never run out of ideas. There's always another character around the corner. There's always something else happening. And so it's a great place to live.
Absolutely.
And it's what inspires our work, really.
I've always sort of felt it's a bit like when you slice a tree and you have so many rings. I mean, the East End is just so rich in terms of its kind of changes and its history. And a lot of the people in the audience, Phil, will know who you are, but can you explain a little bit about the static photography that we saw throughout that film and its history?
Well, I basically started off as a photojournalist and started making films about just over 10 years ago with Hazuan, and we've worked together ever since. And people often say that there's a natural progression from being a photographer to being a filmmaker. And although there's some truth in that, I actually think that still photography complements film and film complements still photography. So rather than abandoning the past and the archive of all the still pictures I've taken over the past 30 years, they're incorporated into the film, because it would be a shame to ignore that archive, which is quite big, because I've been taking pictures of the East End now for 30 years.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So when you start out to make this project, do you have an idea how it's going to end up, or is it very much formed by the characters that you end up filming as contributors to the film?
Well, it's the latter. Because every time we start a new project, we don't have, specific structure. We just go out and interview people, see what's going to come out of those interviews, and fortunately, most of the films, that thing sort of happened, and it which was great. For me personally, it's kind of it's almost like doing a PhD on the East End. Every time you make film, you get to know, you learn about new things and discovering new stories. And for some reason, somehow they always interlink, and it's just fascinating for me.
Do we have any of the contributors here in the film?
I think yes. I think most of them are here.
Yeah. We've got Jill Cove, Sandra Escalante.
Can I ask how you
Michael
guys
Myers.
Well, please.
Les, Julie, and of course Lola Perrin, who's this amazing composer who's been.
I wanted to ask you about the music. So is it original composition
on and off?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean that was just like a
beautiful music
from Lola's. Was it like your first 2 albums? That sort of I can't remember, but once I listened to it and once I put one track under one of the section in the film, it somehow is just connects, and I just wanted more of her music, so it's all there because she's given me a couple of CDs. And
music is very important to our films, and Hazuan, I think, edits them beautifully with the music, and we're very lucky to have as a friend Lola Perrin, who is a brilliant composer, who is able to give us this beautiful music for the film. So we're very lucky because we can work with the contributors that you've seen today, and we get other artists helping us in different ways. We had other photographers who contributed as well to the film.
Jeremy Friedman.
And Amiri Shongi.
And as you noticed, we also used some archive materials from Bishopsgate Institute. Is the archivist here, Stefan Dickers, who's been helping us with the archive photography of C.A. Matthew.
Yeah, it's great to see all that Spitalfields and that, you know, that comment about everyone would be, oh, you live in Spitalfields. Oh,
Yeah.
you live in Spitalfields. So what are your feelings, like diverting for a minute away from the film? What are your feelings with regards to the changes in the area, having been long-time residents?
Well, I think someone once described the city and Bishopsgate like a giant iceberg gradually pushing its way into the East End. And I think because of the close proximity with the city, there's a kind of gentrification that has taken place, which has forced a lot of people out of the area, and people can't afford to live in the area, who used to live in the area. And so the richness that there was there at one time is dissipating to a certain extent. So I think some of the changes have been quite positive, but it's sad to see some of the things that have happened, and to see a gentrification which gives the area an exclusivity which doesn't enable people to be together as they should be.
So with regards to the contributors that you got in this film, how did you come about them?
Les, we met on our second film about the Eastern Lives too, and the others, we just from living in the area, really, you become, well, you make friends, and that's the thing that we're lucky as far as getting contributors as concerned, because we've been living there for so long, and most of the people they become your friends, and
You
then
also happen to live, I believe, on a high-rise.
Yes.
So some of those sweeping shots, you just roll out of bed with your
Yeah.
camera and just get
As you do.
some pretty amazing shots these
He does,
days.
that's what he does.
No, I know. Is there any questions from the audience? I'm sure there must be. Okay.
Who were the two men who were doing the walk around Spitalfields?
It's Alan Gilby and Steve Wells. Alan's here.
Is Alan here?
So for further details on their next walk, you can ask Alan.
And he's got a very funny book called
Was that-
East End Back Passages.
Yeah.
Is that the Back Passages walk, Alan?
Yeah.
Yes, I thought it was. I mean, there's quite a lot to talk about in the East End, isn't there?
There
So
is,
it's
and
kind of-
also we've got a great connection with the East End as well through the website Spitalfields Life, which is produced by the gentle author, who turns out the most amazing blogs on a daily basis, and he's always tipping us
literally
off.
on a daily basis.
Literally on a daily
I don't
basis.
know how the man ever
It's
eats and
astonishing.
sleeps. You just get this
It's
massive blog
astonishing.
every morning in my inbox,
Yeah.
which is always really illuminating and interesting and
Yeah.
relevant.
And so we can plug into that, and it's a question of sharing experiences.
And with this film, you were talking about it's East End Homes that initially commissioned it, but this is taking on a kind of life on its own, is it? What's the plans with regards to this feature kind of version?
Well, we're obviously going to be sending it off to festivals, and hopefully it will be appearing at more festivals. It's going to be shown again at the Whitechapel Gallery as part of the season that they're running, and also at the Barbican, I think on September.
September 30th
September
on
the
the
30th.
about 8:45 p.m. It's Monday evening.
And eventually it will go online so that it will be an archive film which everybody can look at and experience.
And how do you think it communicates outside of the East End?
I think there's
What
a
kind of
commonality of
reactions do you
experience.
get from people that have never been to East London?
Well, most like the last 3 films, we always get invited to show them in France, in Nantes,
Yeah.
and they just sort of a lot of them can actually relate to the film, because at the end of the day, it's all the shared commonality of humanity, really.
And the things that are happening
in the market.
The things that are happening
Working.
in the East End are also happening in Nantes, which is the place where we take our films to, with gentrification, etc. So the French like our films a lot. I don't know why in particular, but as long as they continue to like them, I'll be delighted. But people, you don't have to be an East Ender to appreciate the film, because you're talking about humanity and
Absolutely.
common threads which all humanity share.
I do still feel, with all the films that you've done, that all the characters that you get are obviously, well, everyone's interesting, but you do manage to kind of capture a kind of real array of people that are very relevant to the area, very interesting characters. But ultimately, the one personality that seems to always come across to me is the East End of London.
Yeah.
Is that what do you intend for that, or is that just? Do you think
No,
it's
it just
impossible
happens,
to avoid that? Is
Yeah.
it that strong kind of East End that you
Can I ask
get
a
that
question?
coming through? Go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
go on.
Do you think the film could have been a bit richer in the politics of the East End? I mean, in the 30s, it was a hotbed of politics. You never mentioned Mosley or...
Oh, that was in our last film.
I was going to just say, we did that last year at the festival, but absolutely kind of a good question.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be like an epic.
Well, I think, the Ben-Hur of the East End is...
Yeah.
No, I think you're quite right.
Yeah.
The politics is extremely important, and the last film we made was called From Cable Street to Brick Lane, and it was about the struggle against fascism and the rich heritage of that struggle.
I was there at the time, that's what.
Wow, amazing.
I don't know how we avoided interviewing.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see a part 2 coming up then. Please, stay behind so we can get your details. Is there any other questions or comments from the floor?
What's the process now to get it on television?
Well, you just need to know the commissioning editor, but we don't know any. That's
not what you never see you blow, is that?
But we'll ask Alison, she'll be able to help us.
I can get it in the East End Film Festival, and that's as far as I can go, but I'm always very proud to. I might be speaking out of turn, but I think that the difficulty is its localisation. Although, as you say, it's a story about humanity, and this is why I'm huge fans of your work, and always have been, because I always just feel so enriched every time I see your work. But ultimately, I think it won't get on telly because it's too localised, and people will feel that as a national, a national, whatever it is, it's too local for people to understand, protect.
How long
Maybe.
will it take you from the beginning to the actual finishing product?
this particular one, a couple of years. Yeah. Thank you.
There's a drinks reception afterwards if anybody wants to join us. If you've got any questions you want to ask us, you can come to that.
Can you tell us, because we do work every year, and I know that you're always moving really fast onto the next project. What else are you working on now?
What else are we working on?
Your book.
Oh, I'm doing a book for next year, and in fact there's going to be an exhibition to go with the book, which is actually going to be at the Rich Mix Centre, and it's going to be about Brick Lane and the surrounding area, and how it's changed over the past 30 years. So that's a project.
Much into this kind of theme.
Well,
People that have enjoyed this would like to see the
The
others, I'm
last
sure.
3, people can watch it online on the Eastern Lives website, which is part of the project. It's called the web address easternlives.co.uk. They're like 3 half-an-hour documentaries. So,
Okay, fantastic.
and this eventually will be there as well.
And I do a daily photo blog, which is contemporary but also historic. philmaxwell.org.
Great. Is there any more, or should we? Sorry, was that an arm up at the back?
That's okay, sorry.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add other
Well,
than
I just wanted to thank again
Yeah,
the
thank
East
you.
End Film Festival for always showing our films, and for you, Alison, who've always taken such an interest
You know, I'm
in the
proud,
films,
that's why.
which is fantastic, because we depend on people like yourselves with good taste. And I really would like to thank all the participants, without whom the film would not have been possible, because we depend on those kind of characters to make the films that we do. And I'd like to, on behalf of Hazuan and myself, thank you all for being in the film and for your contributions. It was marvellous, and it's been great working with you.
We love you.